Evening. Welcome to another edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. My name is Leon Jones, and today I'm going to talk about the partisanship and, of course, some of the social issues. And I'm going to get into the Southern Poverty Law Center. Now, I know a number of individuals are talking about that, but if you look at what's really going on, we have too many individuals who are influencers to individuals who don't look at everything deeply, or they're just lazy. Now, we have AI. The technology is good, but you still have to learn how to research. And a lot of the issues have come from the left. I'll be honest with you. Now, I saw Stephen A. Smith on News Nation. The problem I have with Stephen A. Smith is he talks a good game to me, but then he voted for Kamala Harris. Certainly, he defends Trump, but Stephen A. Smith, in my humble opinion, doesn't know anything about politics. In fact, most black people don't know anything about politics. They act as if they do, but I'm just going to say this. We need to cut it out with the white supremacy, because a number of the black liberals, like the Roland Martins, they want the white supremacy. And I'm going to prove it to you right now. If you look at people like Roland Martin and Don Lemon, and you have other icons out there like Ricky Smiley, and even people like some of your athletes out there, the bottom line is they all support Democrats. Obama, he's another one. Although Obama's really he's mixed. Steve Harvey. You have a number of your black academics. Now, the problem I have with a lot of the black academics is you have many of these individuals who go to college, and the black schools, they're teaching all this nonsense. And when it comes to the big issue out there, I'm just going to say this, it's the tethers and the boules. Now, if you don't know what a boule is a bougie. Now, the boules actually started in 1904 in Philadelphia. Nobody knows it unless you've read about it. We all know about the Divine Nine fraternities. But the first fraternity, and it's got very few members, it's called the Sigma Pi Phi fraternity. Have right around 139 chapters. And it is very, very selective. Very small fraternity. Now, I'm bringing up the boules because it is really the boules. They think they speak for all black people. You have your Divine Nine individuals. Now, what do I mean by the Divine Nine? Well, there are five fraternities, the Iota Phi Thetas, the Phi Beta Sigmas, the Alpha Phi Alpha, the Kappa Alpha Psi, and the Omega Psi Phi. And then there's the Sigma Gamma Rho, the Delta Sigma Theta, Zeta Phi Beta, and Alpha Kappa Alpha. There are a number of these individuals who have people in power who are part of these organizations. And part of these organizations really support white supremacy. They support left-wing causes. And what they are buffers between people like me who think for ourselves and white supremacy. And if you look at it, a number of the individuals who are in those organizations vote for Democrats. And they want to take all of the power in the Black community and they want to put their beliefs on us. In other words, they don't want us thinking for ourselves. So when I talk about the plantation, it is a lot of these individuals who are in these organizations. And it's a lot of networking going on in these organizations. I know, and I mentioned this last week, I tried to get in to Kappa Alpha Psi. Well, when they asked me what my political beliefs were, I wasn't accepted. So I had to go into what we call a non-Hellenic council, Pan-Hellenic council fraternity. Now, if you want to know something, a lot of your fraternities and sororities, with the exception of the Kappas and the Sigma Gamma Rhos, and there may be a few other ones, well, most of them began at Howard University. This is when your National Pan-Hellenic Council was formed. And in order to get in that council, you need roughly 150 chapters. Well, my fraternity is a small fraternity. It is a fraternity. It's called Phi Psi. Look it up. Started at Mott University in Flint, Michigan, 1965. So it's basically 61 years old, the same age as I am. Now, my fraternity, we have a mix of people. But you have a lot of these blacks who get on TV. They're paid. And this all goes back to the Southern Poverty Law Center. Now, the funny thing about it is, with the Southern Poverty Law Center, and they're being sued because they claim that they're against racism, but they're for racism. Now, why are some of these groups too, like your blacks out here, your tethers out here? Because right now we have a delineation going on between people like me who are foundational Black Americans. And shout out to Tariq Nasheed for putting that out there. Because again, you have people who are tethers who think they can assimilate with foundational Black Americans, but at the same time, they don't like the foundational Black Americans. In fact, they really despise us. They don't think that we're smart enough. They think we're lazy. And the foundational Black Americans are the ones who have gone through the struggle. In fact, all of the other minorities in this country are piggybacking off of the foundational Black Americans. This is why a number of so-called brown people have been upset with Black people for not joining their cause. Well, you think about it, why should we join their cause? Because they don't want to have anything to do with us at all. I know, I've worked for Indian people in the hotel industry. They don't want to have anything to do with us. In fact, they would rather have us in the back doing the housekeeping instead of us at the front desk. I know, I worked for a few of them when I was in the hospitality industry, and I was told by some Indian people, and they are rather rude. See, the Indian people, they live on a caste system. But if you think about this, and let's put it together here, you have white people and Black people. With white people, it's always classism. But here's the thing with Black people, and don't get it twisted. Black people, it's also classism as well. But here's what Black people do. They actually skirt around the classism and call it racism. Because in the Black community, Believe it or not, there are different classes of people as well. The problem is, when it comes to black people, many black people have their noses up in the air. They're the Boule ones. You're Roland Martins. You're Tiffany Crosses. Your Joys of the world. Your Oprahs. These are the ones who have the microphone. They think they know all black people. And here's what I'm going to say. Just because you look like me, it does not mean we're brothers and sisters. Because I can tell you right now, politically, me and a number of blacks don't see eye to eye. I'm more or less an independent. Now, I think both parties don't like black people. However, when it comes to the Republican Party, which is the younger party, black people were at least accepted into the Republican Party. Now, I know there are individuals out there more on the Democratic side who believe that the parties changed. No, the parties didn't change. You see, the Southern Poverty Law Center was the one who funded the Klan. See, they paid for hate. You know, all this bull crap that went on with the tiki torches in Charlottesville. That was paid for. That was all set up. In fact, here's what people missed, and this is why Joe Biden got into that race. And you have to be very, very careful when you're actually dealing with media. And I say this because media only focuses on clips. I mean, you could take a 10-second clip and believe it. And most people do believe it. When Trump mentioned that there were good people on both sides, that's where everything stopped. And this is where the non-educated or the low-informed voters called Trump a racist. But he said, if you listen to the whole video, there were good people on both sides. And he wasn't talking about the neo-Nazis and the white supremacists. He actually said that. But see, the media wants you to know what they want you to know. And the media also knows that there are a number of individuals who don't do any research at all. And many people in this country don't understand history. They don't even understand the Constitution. It's like right now with the gerrymandering going on. You know, the Democrats are starting to cry about the gerrymandering. They said, well, Texas started. No, Texas did not start the gerrymandering. The gerrymandering started up in the northeastern states. And I showed you about 3 months ago the salamander shape in Massachusetts. And right now with Virginia, there's a judge. And that vote has been put on hold because of some language that confused a lot of people. And see, that's what the Democrats do. And I will say this with the Democrats. Right now, the Democrats have no policies. So all the Democrats are doing is just using hate. They're using racism. Now, is it working? I don't know if it's working. Because I can tell you that vote in Virginia, even though that referendum went through, and I'm not even sure in California about Prop 50. They might even look at that. Because, see, the Democrats have already gerrymandered themselves out. But you have people like Hakeem Jeffries going down in Florida saying, you F around and find out. Hakeem, you ain't tough. Stay your ass up in New York. You couldn't even bust a grape. You're going to go down to Florida and you're going to try to tell this man about gerrymandering when all your party does is gerrymandering. Look, the state next to me in Illinois, half that state wanted to become part of my state of Indiana. And if that were to happen, we get a lot more electoral college votes. Right now, Indiana has 11. We would probably get 14 or 15, which could sway the election. I mean, if you really want my answer on this, some of these big states like California split up into 3 states. Have Northern California, California, and Southern California. You look at Virginia. West Virginia used to be part of Virginia. So they split off. Well, maybe it's about time for Hampton Roads and Emporia and Hopewell and Crewe, Virginia, Petersburg and Richmond. Maybe they have to split off because, see, what's happening is the Democrats, the way they're gerrymandering, you can live 300 miles away from the major city, but be in that major city's congressperson's district. And all the Democrats are doing, they're using the same old rhetoric. I mean, the one that's running for Congress here, Andre Carson, he's doing the same thing. Tax cuts for billionaires. Now, all this classism really started when Clinton came into office. First of all, you had tax cuts for the rich. Then you had tax cuts for millionaires. Well, some of these politicians became millionaires, and now they're saying tax cuts for billionaires. First of all, there are not a lot of billionaires out here. Second of all, you have a lot of people in Congress who can do insider trading. I can't do insider trading. I go to jail if I do it. But with everything going on, you have so many individuals out here who don't even understand the Constitution. But with this gerrymandering, it's funny now, the Supreme Court has allowed Texas to do its gerrymandering, but every Democrat is blaming it on Texas. Now, Florida is looking into doing it. Now, Indiana was going to do it, but they chickened out. Now, I'll tell you what, they may have to put that back on the table. And this is what I'm talking about, partisanship. And what I'm talking about, and let me share my screen and talk about the political partisanship right now. So you understand what partisanship really is. Right now, we have a divided country. And if you think about it, Trump had 77 million votes. He won the popular vote. But then if you look at the Democrats, they had 73 million. So you had 77 million, 73 million. That's a lot of votes. So Trump won just a little bit more of the country's popular vote. But even when Trump so-called lost, ballots came flying out of nowhere back in 2020, he still had 76 million votes. So in 2020, I mean, this country is definitely split. And the Democrats, more than the Republicans, they have more of your adherence to the political party. And it's often resulting in unwavering loyalty and a refusal to compromise with opponents. This is why nothing's going to change. And that fuels polarization and legislative gridlock. Now, the U.S. has basically shifted from simple party affiliation to intense affective polarization. And that's where opposing voters hold deeply negative views of each other. And what they do, they often prioritize party loyalty over policy. I see that more with the Democrats, because right now the Democrats don't have any policies at all. I mean, in fact, there's a sign right up there on 96th Street and I-69. here in Indianapolis, a woman running for Congress. And I wish I'd gotten a picture of that sign. It says impeach Trump. First of all, you can impeach the president if you're in the House, but you can't have him removed. And another thing I want to put out there too, we're looking at the midterms. Generally, with history, let me stop sharing for a minute. And every president has gone through it. The party that's not in power usually gets in power in the midterms. But the party in power, say the Democrats do the midterms. Well, what makes you think they're going to win in 2028? Remember, when you are in a House seat, you have 2-year terms. If you're in the Senate, you have 6-year terms. And then let's say the Democrats do win the House and it's gridlock. Well, the way Trump is going to get his way is he'll just go around Congress like he's been doing and use executive orders. Now, am I worried about the Democrats getting power in the House? Sure, there'll be hearings. They'll try to impeach. However, this all happened when Trump became a lame duck. He had no power between 2018 and 2020 because the Democrats had both houses. But now, the bottom line is if the Republicans keep the House, it's almost nothing the Democrats can do. Certainly, Trump will lose some of his power, particularly with his big agendas. This is why Thune, and this is why the Republican Speaker of the House, they need to put through the SAVE Act. They need to put through some hardcore issues because the bottom line is the Democrats are going to try to change everything back around again. But if you want to take the Democrats out of power, things like the economy have to take hold of itself. Then they're looking at Iran. I know we don't want Iran to get a nuclear bomb, but we have to work on Iran because I tell you what, the gas prices, they're actually fluctuating here. I went out today, gas is $4.19. Now, gas was $4.19 a couple of weeks ago, and then it went down to $3.66, $3.89. Here's what we need to do. We need to get the XL pipeline. We need to not depend on Iranian oil. We need to depend on American oil. We need to start building refineries. The bottom line with the left, again, the left, all they want to do is just be obstructionists. This is where you get most of the partisanship. In fact, you look at what happened at the correspondence dinner. 31-year-old teacher. Thank goodness there was good civil, not civil service, but Secret Service. And this is why Trump is actually right about wanting to build a nice, secure ballroom. In fact, do you know what that hotel back in 1981? Same hotel. It's when Reagan almost got assassinated. Same hotel. And with the left out here, you have more loonies because even during a correspondence dinner, you had protesters in the hotel talking about Iran, talking about Trump. And basically, what you're getting from the Democratic left is nothing but hate Trump. And the Democrats, what they're trying to do is cheat their way. But see, the Republicans, they're somewhat fighting back. It's kind of funny. The Democrats thought they had a monopoly on gerrymandering, but when the Republicans do it now, it's gerrymandering. But they don't realize that they did it, and they continue to do it. And see, the reason why the Democrats are trying to pull out all this bullshit out of here, because I don't care if you're really on the left and the right, unless you're a hardcore lefty. None of us, for the most part, many of us here in America, okay, we believe in rights for women. We believe that everybody has rights, but we don't believe in special rights. But we don't believe in males playing women's sports. And look what happened in Fairfax. A trans person essayed someone's daughter in Fairfax. And you know who they arrested? They arrested the father. Fairfax County, Virginia. And speaking of some of these towns out here, don't think any of you so-called yuppie towns are safe from the crime. I live here in Indiana. Now, I hear a lot of crime that goes on here in Indianapolis, but even Bloomington got hit with some crime, a shooting down there. Yeah, and Bloomington. Now, you think Bloomington is well established? That's the home of the main campus of Indiana University. Something went down there. And then something else to look at as well. You had the man who killed his 8 children. Now, there's a double standard in this too. What about Andrea Yates, who killed her 5 children? People forget about that. Now, a man who killed his 8 children, 1 to 14. We don't know what was going on in that family, but we're going to look at particularly black man like he's destructive. This is why a number of black women have the angst with black men, because of movies like Waiting to Exhale and all the R&B songs out. And see that mindset that a number of black women have. I'm just generally speaking, that's why they don't make good mates. Because they want to rule. This is why you see a number of them, some of the older women. And I'm not saying in my age group, because like I said, in my age group, I wouldn't even deal with anybody. Because I wouldn't even deal with anybody in the 40s, 30s. No, I'd stick 50s, 60s on up. Yeah, there were issues, were feminist issues. But it's really worse when you start to get into the millennials and the Gen Zers. It's a fact. It's a fact that social media, it's influenced a number of individuals' thinking, particularly the Gen Zs and a number of the millennials. But the bottom line here is this. The real hate that I see, and I know that Southern Poverty Law Center, the reason why they funded racism, because racism actually makes money. That's why black people want racism. The Boules, they want racism. I mean, if you really think about the Boule black people, your Joy Reids, your Abby Phillips, these are tethers. These are ones who come from different countries, but because they're black, they believe that they see black issues. Well, they might see black issues, but what black issue they don't see is the Boule Africans were the ones who sold Africans into slavery. Nobody wants to talk about that. When people talk about black leadership, talk about Marcus Garvey, I believe the real leader, in my opinion, was Malcolm X. To me, he was better than Martin. Malcolm X was more of a fighter, but he didn't get the accolades that Martin got. Martin didn't find out until it was too late that a mistake was made when he looked at integration instead of equality. Because I can tell you, black people, they built their own towns, but you had jealous white people that went and burned them down. And there were a number of Black Wall Streets out there. But see, there's always been turmoil within our own race, particularly with the women. Because the women have always worked. You see, the women look at black men, well, you were slaves too. Why should we take any type of instruction from you? So you already had the Shirley Chisholms. They were already feminists back in the days. But the thing about it is, the black women, they hopped on board of white feminism. Bottom line is, when it comes to a number of individuals out here, they're going to vote, but they're not going to vote for any policy. See, again, like I said, the Democrats really don't have anything that we're interested in. Because most of us, deep down inside, even some of you liberals out there, you don't have to tell me, but I can tell you right now, for the most part, your average American person has conservatism and liberalism. Many of us are actually libertarian. Because there are a number of us, we're not looking at, we know there's racism out there. But see, what we're looking for are like-minded people. And this is where me and a number of the Boules, we don't see eye to eye on anything. And shout out to Machismo TV. Shout out to Mr. O. Shout out to Professor Nez. You got a lot of sick people, including there was a heavyset black woman in my former state of Maryland. She thought she was God and she went and robbed somebody. 65-year-old man. Now, 65-year-old man laughed while she pulled out that pea shooter, but that pea shooter had a bullet in that pea shooter and he got shot. And she put it out there on video that she has all the power, that she's God, that nothing can happen to her. And then she goes down to a Starbucks and gets $40. This is a woman, and I tell you what, in the black community, we got mental issues as well. See, the reason why we don't talk about it, because we think mental issues are all white people's issues. No, we have mental issues as well. Many of us live in denial. Many of us have lead. And if you don't know what lead is many of us live the lies. Many of us live the emotion, the assumption, and the delusion. Now, of course, when I saw Stephen A. Smith from his Straight Shooter show, okay, he will defend the president. But the problem with Stephen A. Smith, for his audience, he's not going to say he really supports the president because he doesn't want to lose his audience. So there again, he's not really telling the truth himself because he doesn't want to anger his audience. And that's the problem in this country. You know, you got, again, the Southern Poverty Law Center, who's supposed to be funding anti-hate groups, but they're really funding hate groups. George Soros is funding people. You see, a lot of what you see the Democrats are doing. I mean, look at what went on in Virginia. There was a lot of money pumped into Virginia. Out of state money. But when you have people who don't look at anything, and of course, some people are busy, but that language, that's why it was unconstitutional. The language was so confusing. And I believe that language, it was done on purpose. But if you look at it, that vote in Virginia was 51, almost 51-49. It's 2.9 points. So that tells you even the referendum about gerrymandering. It's those ballots that came in late. This is why should be no mail-in ballots. In my humble opinion, should be paper ballots. No hanging chads, paper ballots. Everybody should have to go down to a polling station and vote. If you can't get to a polling station, create a polling station. Set it up with your municipality. But you need honest people. Now, I know elections are not honest. And the Democrats are now going to blame Texas. Oh, well, Texas cheated. Again, the Democrats, they never look at themselves. And this is why we have a stupid public out here. And in the end, with this gerrymandering going on, how many seats is it going to gain? Because really, when it comes to voting, generally, the president, most of us vote for the president. Why? It's much easier to vote for the president. Why? Because there's an electoral college. But when it comes to your Congress people, it's popular vote. But see, when it comes to the actual numbers, I don't ever go by a poll that takes a sample. The real poll is how many people voted. That's the real poll. Even with the media, because right now the Attorney General, Virginia's going to try to appeal that gerrymandering. Now, right now, that gerrymandering is going to the state Supreme Court. Yes, if you didn't know your government, all states have their own Supreme Court. I believe the state Supreme Courts might have 7 judges. There's always an odd number of judges. But see, with the Democrats, what they want to do anyway, they want to pack the court. They'd rather have 13 judges in there, most of them liberal. That's what the Democrats want to do. The Democrats want to go full-blown socialism. Now, I know governments, I believe a real sustainable government can't have all capitalism, can't have all socialism, can't even have all communism. Why? Because no matter what governmental system you have, You're always going to have some greedy people. And the greedy people here are all of your elitists. They're trying to make the rules for all of us. See, we're more like the proletariats. We're the people who go out and do the work. We don't manage the work because we don't have any money. And the way it looks when it comes to the economy now, certainly the American dream is very subjective. There are people out here who are making six figures and are broke because they don't know how to manage their money. See, when you vote Democrat, the Democrats basically, they don't really create jobs. When they give you a number of the jobs, the reason why their numbers sound high because they're all government jobs. But remember something, government is not in the business to make any money at all. That's not government. Government is supposed to serve the people. And right now, with all this gerrymandering, and this is by both parties, the government is not representing us. The government is representing themselves and the lobbyists. Because at that dinner, that White House Correspondents' Dinner, now again, this is where Trump, this is where he can get it in there by saying, you see what happened? We had a crazy that walked up in here, and a lot of people could have been deleted, but Secret Service caught it on time. A 31-year-old teacher. And guess where that 31-year-old teacher was from? And he had actually won, I believe, an award for Teacher of the Year. But he was Looney Tooney. Came all the way from California to try to shut it down. "31 years old, he got shut down. Now, of course, there are a number of people. Let me talk about prison. If you really think about it, how many people want to go to work? I was watching the show with this black construction worker. He was getting teased. And Tommy Jean, my sweet chocolate, she sent it to me. He was getting teased. Now, I know I've had problems on the job too. But he was getting teased by people. They finally went up, got him a piece of steel, put a hole in the owner. And when he was caught by the police, he was nonchalant about it. And from his conversation with the police, he doesn't care if he goes to jail for the rest of his life. Why? He didn't want to work anyway. Think about it. Some people, they believe jail is the easy way out. Yes, it's structured. It is not a great environment, but you do get 3 hots and a cot. And you can go to the library and study. You can also work in the canteen, work in the laundry, particularly here in American jails. Now, if you were overseas in their jails, no, not that way. But you have a number of individuals who don't want to work. They'd rather have somebody take care of them. That's the mindset that, and it's not just Gen Zs, baby boomers created it, went through Gen X, the millennials. And see, that's what's on the Democratic side. See, the Democrats want plantation people. And your Boule niggas out there, they believe in the Democrats. When you believe in the Democrats, you believe in the Klan. But going back to President Trump, it's kind of funny when it comes to black people. Why do they hate Trump so much? But they never tell you that Trump funded Jesse Jackson's campaign. When Jennifer Hudson had a couple of her family members deleted, he put her up in a hotel. Trump used to hang out with a bunch of rappers. Trump used to deal with athletes. Now, people say Trump is racist. His father was, but he didn't believe in what his father believed in. You have to look at everything this way. When it comes to America, a lot of us have been told a lot of lies, and we believe the lies. You see, Obama, if you think about it, the reason why we are the way we are now, because even though I didn't care too much for George Bush, we weren't even talking about race. We knew it was out there, but we weren't talking about it like that. As soon as Obama got in office, this is when all the socialist groups came up, like your Black Lives Matter, your trans groups. And you have your money people like Kamala Harris. Utilized the black card. She went to Howard University, joined the AKAs, but said she would never do anything for black people. But yet you still have a number of black people who support her. And then you have people like Obama browbeating brothers that you don't want to vote for her because she's a woman. Truth be told, truth be told, if he asked me that question, yeah, I would say that. She doesn't know what she's doing. And she had a video out saying that the economy is bad. Well, if she was in there, it would be even worse. But see, nothing would have been said because the Democrats would control everything. See, the Democrats are about the cancel culture if you disagree with them. That's their mindset. They don't want to have any type of discussion. And then when you follow up with a question, they want to call you names. That's how the Democrats operate. The Democrats are the ones, if you think about it, Angela Davises and your Bill Ayers, the Democrats are the ones who are basically, you think about it like this, they're no different than Hezbollah. They're no different than some of these Islamic individuals out here. You know, they talk about white supremacy, they believe in white supremacy. Because the Democrats, see, when you don't have anything, you're going to make up something as you go on. Look at Hakeem Jeffries. He's still talking about January 6th. When you know, thinking of January 6th, the funny thing about January 6th, there was some Antifa individuals who were part of that crowd too. They didn't tell you about that. Look at Ashley Babbitt. She was clipped. But they will go out here and talk about this Renee Good that got clipped in Minnesota, and this other guy who brandished a gun who was a veteran. Now, did ICE handle it the correct way? Maybe not. However, if the shoe were on the other side, the other foot, the Democrats, you think about it, and this is the proof. You look at the number of individuals who sit in federal prison for January 6th. That's what they're not telling you either. And some of them are still in there till this day. Now, they may get a pardon when Trump leaves, they may not. But if the other way around, it had been a Republican that gotten clipped, nothing would have been heard or said. See, that's the problem. If you don't believe in the democratic philosophy, you're the problem. And it's really the individuals on the left that have the issues, not the people on the right. Now, I'm not saying you don't have any crazies like Laura Loomer, and Candace Owens, and even Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson. You do. But a lot of your information out there, caught on tape, is on the left. Because the left, the only way they win is cheap. Because the left has infected all of our institutions. This is when I talk about the 5 power conferences. Talk about your media, your government, your jobs, your religion, and your education. They have infected those 5 institutions with their progressivism. And they want to keep that progressivism. Why? Because you have a number of children who enter that progressivism so they can brainwash them. See, the left in this country doesn't want you to be educated. Although they tell you about getting college degrees. No, they don't want you to be educated. They want you to be stupid. Because if you're stupid, you'll vote for them. They want full control. Leftism is like a religion in itself. And then you have your Boule niggas out here. We're part of the Divine Nine. They're getting paid themselves. And really, they're preaching racism. And they don't want thinking black people like myself, because they believe that we should all be on the plantation. See, these Boule niggas think they speak for all of us. They're the problem. They're the ones who believe in white supremacy. They're the ones who believe in your Marxism, your communism, those people. But they're the black elitists. And don't get it twisted. There's classism within the blacks. And and the funny thing about it is, these blacks that I'm talking about, your Boule Negroes, they don't even live in the hood. They live in gated communities themselves. They're making a lot of money themselves. You see, if we really shut down racism, people like Al Sharpton would be out of business. Because racism is, the Democrats like to make money off of people's sorrows. This is why they're talking doom and gloom all the time. You see, the more people we have on welfare, got more government workers. And that's what the Democrats want. Well, they want you to have some education, but they want you to be workers. They don't want you to make decisions. They want to make the decisions for you. And then when you got the SPLC funding hate, when they should be funding anti-hate, tells me something about some of these outside organizations. Because some of these outside organizations, they're probably writing law too. You think about it. These Congress people, do you believe they read the bills? I remember Nancy Pelosi. They were putting that health care bill. You know what she said? Once we were putting that health care bill in, oh, well, you got to read the bill. Well, you mean you didn't read it? They don't read it. And you have a lot of your unelected bureaucrats in power too. That's the problem. You got layers of elitists out here who don't want change because it affects their pocket. Because when it comes to America, you must understand that America is a corporation. All of the politicians have been bought. I mean, you get politicians, Marjorie Taylor Greene came in there making $100-something thousand. She's worth 22 million now. They're getting paid a substantial amount of money from these elite groups to make laws, not for the people, but for the elites. That's the problem. You get people like Bernie Sanders up here saying, well, tax cuts for the billionaires. Well, it's because he's a millionaire now. That's the problem. And Democrats want to eliminate choice for all people. They want to cancel everything, unless it's what they believe in. And what they're trying to do right now, see, if the Democrats were really winning out here, why would they have to cheat? It's because people don't like what they're doing because they're not offering anything. It's funny with the Democrats, everything runs in trends with them. You don't hear too much about the tariffs anymore, do you? Now, the Democrats were saying, oh, they didn't work, but they're saying the economy is bad. Well, if the economy is bad, might be bad for individuals who aren't spending their money right. But when I look at the Dow Jones, it's going up. I look at my 401k, it's going up a little bit. Depends on how you see the economy. Most people don't even know how the economy works anyway, because they're busy as consumers. Well, a number of individuals don't have any money. They talk about steak being how you eat steak every day. No. When things get out of whack, you look at the people from 1929 to World War II, the Great Depression. What did they do? Because the stock market did crash in 1929. They made it. They tightened up a little bit. Yes, that's when a lot of your welfare programs were started in the 30s. But that correspondence dinner, this is why they need the ballroom. So they can tighten security. Because believe it or not, there's going to be some crazy that's going to walk up there and try it again. May not be the president, it may be somebody else. Look at Steve Scalise. There was another Democrat a long time ago from Arizona. She got popped in the head. So you got hate coming. But again, it's on the left for the most part. What happened to Charlie Kirk? You don't see anybody knocking off any radical liberals here. It's the ones who have the conservative mindset, because liberals believe that they dominate everything. But all they're doing is lying to you. You turn on the TV and you hear nothing but lies. And you got people who are Boules. They think they speak for all Black people, when in actuality, they want to have power over the rest of us. I'm talking about Black people who are part of these organizations, the Boules. They want to have power over the rest of us. And if we don't do what they tell us, then we're sellouts. When in essence, they're the ones who sold Black people out. They sold it out for white supremacy. This is why when we start talking about racism, we better turn a blind eye. Don't turn a blind eye. Racism is still there. But we better start looking at some of these Negroes sideways. because they're about the class and power too. If you don't believe me, you ask one of these Negroes why don't they live in the black community? They're not even putting any money in the black community because they're over there with that white liberal. I mean, they believe in the same thing. In fact, they're doing exactly what that white liberal tells them to do. That's the problem. But they want to keep us oppressed in the mind. That's the game they're playing. Every day you turn on the TV, to a CNN, to an MS Now, they talk about hate the president, doom and gloom. And so they want you to hate the president. But if some of these blacks would go and ask the president what's really going on, they wouldn't like it. Because now the individuals that are asking the president what's really going on starting to think for themselves. It's not what the black liberals want either. No, they want to control how you think. They want to indoctrinate you. See, these black Boule niggas are no different than the Klan because they support the Klan. And you know why they support the Klan? Because they vote Democrat. Parties really haven't changed. Yeah, you may have had some people that went from the Democrats to Republicans, but the Democrats are still the same old racist fools as they were when they started. Except what they're trying to do is they're trying to involve all the minorities based off the black people by looking at all minorities as oppressed. They're trying to put us all under one umbrella. We're not all under one umbrella because you know what? A lot of the other minorities don't even like black people. These tethers don't like black people. They don't even think they're black. But they got a lot to say. They look at the color of their skin like we're the same. It's because you look like me doesn't mean we're the same. You're not a foundation of Black American. You're not an descendant of slavery. Yvette Carnell made that one up. Let's see what it is. Blacks start fighting back, pushing back on these Boules. These Boules have a problem. You're Roland Martins. That's why he gets so loud. He thinks he's right all the time. No, he's one of these Boules. He thinks he can speak for the rest of us. Same with your Don Lemons. But these are the individuals that support liberal causes. And when you support liberal causes, you support the racism. You support the white supremacy. It's not the other side, it's you all. It's these pastors out here. All these black people in leadership positions, and some of these activist mayors, governors out here, they support that white supremacy. And all I say to a number of people, you better wake up. You better start doing more research and just going on Chat GPT and Google. You better look around you. And just because you live in a good area, because I mentioned Bloomington, Indiana, it's a good area. The hood can come into your neck of the woods. Why? I'll tell you why. You have a number of people who need mental help. When you have a number of people who don't know what's going on out here, and then you have people who think they can do whatever they want. See, the Democrats are all anarchists. They don't believe in law and order. They don't even believe in the Constitution. What they believe in is telling everybody else what to do except for them. Meantime, I'm just going to say this. When it comes to black people, comes to the Democratic Party, just because you look like me doesn't mean you're my brother or my sister. In fact, you're my enemy because you're the racist. Because all you're doing is you're just pumping that information from the white racist to me. But you're calling the other side racist when you support racism. You support the Southern Poverty Law Center. You support the LGBTQ. You don't support, and you support abortion. Everything that those lefties support, that's you. In the meantime, bottom line is this. You don't want freedom. Because if you did want freedom, you'd have a better way of thinking. And with what's coming up, it's partisan politics here. A lot of people don't want change. Because if they wanted real change, they demand it. They don't demand it. What they do demand is this, for everybody to hate Trump. That's really what it's all about. And when you go that low and you're still complaining about the economy, look at New York. All this anti-Trump, get the government you deserve. But we shouldn't have to suffer because you hate Trump. Because in the end, all of you Trump haters out, you can disagree with the president. I didn't hate Biden. I disagreed with a lot of what he said. Hate him. Didn't even hate Obama. Obama did nothing for black people. But yet he was your darling. He started a lot of this racism. And then you have other minorities piggybacking off of black people. When in the end, they don't like black people because they think they're not black. They think they're better than we are. Some of them come off more racist than white people. And then white people, a number of you have a lot of white guilt. But you constantly think you're helping when in the end, you're hurting. So to sum up this video, I'm just going to say this. Start looking out for these groups out here like the Southern Poverty Law Center. Start looking at your news and deciphering the news. Start really looking at everything around you. Although it's constantly changing with technology and everything, get yourself educated. You don't need a college degree to be educated. That's all bull crap too. What I'm telling you is this. Black people, you want to remain free? Don't go back to the plantation. Let them Boule niggas stay on the plantation. Don't give them anything. Don't support any of their campaigns. If you're black and you're a Democrat, I'm not supporting you. And that I'm talking to you, Andre Carson, talking about billionaires. You're in power because of a billionaire. They fund your campaign, you dumbass. But in the end, I'm just preaching to a number of ignorant people. Because here's what's going to happen. There's not going to be any change. Why? Because many people on the left, they're not voting for change. What they're voting for is I hate Trump. It's called Trump derangement syndrome because they don't want change. They want power. So for the people on the right, get out there and vote. But even when you get out there and vote, they're sore losers. They're going to try to cheat anyway because they don't have anything to offer but lead, lies, emotion, assumption, delusion, and deception. And in the end, we're still going to be right where we are today. Obama talked about hope and change. Well, I don't believe in hope, but I believe there will be no change. Why? Because in the end, the elites in this country, they don't want any change. Because change reduces their power. And that's my commentary for this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. If you like what I just presented, please comment, share, and subscribe. And if you are looking for some STEM content, check out the QCIS channel. Well, on that channel, you get a daily dose of science, technology, engineering, and math. Now, here's where you can find me. 411 Talk Zone radio show. You can find me right here on YouTube. You can find me on X, formerly Twitter. You can find me on True Social and Rumble. And for the QCIS channel, you can find me right here on YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, and LinkedIn. And for the individuals out there, if you're not offended, go about your business. If you are offended by what I said, do some more studying. I'm not picking on you, I'm just waking you up. But in the meantime, I'm just going to say this. Always be blessed for what you have. Don't worry about what you don't have. Always know that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. If it doesn't apply, let it fly. But if the shoe fits, wear it. And if you don't like the shoe, then change it. And once again, thank you for listening to this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. Till next time, my name is Leon Jones. I want you all to have a wonderful and gracious evening. God bless you. I'm out.